Doctor Who spin-offs. We've had quite a few of them over the years. Some were good, and others were an acquired taste, you could say. So I thought I'd go and take a trip down memory lane and see how these spin-offs fared. The first spin-off we'll be looking at today is Canine and Company. This was produced as the title character was a popular companion of Tom Baker's Fourth Doctor. Therefore, it made sense to producer John Nathan Turner that this would be a great idea to make a spin-off which would appeal to the younger audiences, as K9 was very popular with the kids. The pilot episode, A Girl's Best Friend, debuted during the holiday season in 1981. It brought back Liz Sladen as legendary companion Sarah Jane Smith, who also travelled with Tom's Doctor. John Leeson was also brought back to voice the robot dog. The K9 depicted in this was of course the Mark III model, as the first two models were both written out of Doctor Who. To put it bluntly, this got a shit reception, which meant that the show would not be picked up beyond the first episode. I myself am one of the biggest critics of this, but even I have to say that this was a shame, as I feel that the series could have had the potential to be just as good as Doctor Who for the younger audiences. One thing I find unforgivable is the script. It was just so forgettable with all those blank characters, and the only standout was really the Sladen. The most unforgivable thing about this spin-off though has to be that bloody title sequence. What were they thinking? The next TV spin-off did not happen for nearly another 25 years. Wow. In 2006, Doctor Who was brought back to its best, with Russell T Davies at the helm as the exec producer, and you know all the rest. Many fans soon learnt that everything changes, even in a world full of alien threats, without the Doctor to protect it. Torchwood, which is a word that's an anagram of Doctor Who, debuted in late 2006. It saw a team of alien hunters come together to deal with new threats that certainly would not have made it into Doctor Who. The spin-off was aimed towards adults and older teenagers to differentiate it from the familiar family-friendly setting of Doctor Who. Therefore, there was more violence, there was sex, and there was swearing. Something which we almost got in Doctor Who.
Clicking towards oblivion. How long, K9?
Insufficient data.
Yeah, you never fucking know the answer when it's important.
Almost. The most infamous life form to appear in this show was the sex gas. That episode was written by none other than Chris Chibnall. Seriously, what the fuck was this all about? Anyway, if you ignore the episodes like that, Torchwood did achieve what Canine and Company did not. 41 episodes were produced over the span of 4 series, with each series getting bigger and bigger in terms of scale and storylines, a strong trope of RTD Doctor Who. The last TV series to date was aired in 2011. The show is still popular with fans now, meaning that it has left a legacy. All you need to do is look at the Ionto Shrine in Cardiff, and you know what I mean. This was the first time that Doctor Who had a spin-off that ran concurrently with itself. But could it have another? Well, as it transpired, yes, it could. Now, if you are someone who grew up with the next spin-off I'm about to talk about, then congratulations, you had a great childhood. The Sarah Jane Adventures was produced, again by RTD, for the younger audiences. This show was aired on CBBC channel and sometimes on BBC One. You know, that time when they used to show children's programming in the afternoons. This was a phenomenon. It righted all the wrongs of Canine and Company from decades earlier. Liz Sladen came back again to play Sarah Jane Smith, this time taking the centre role as the journalist we all know and love. In their adventures, she was aided by a group of kids to try and stop the forces of evil from trying to take over the world. Now and again, K9 came along for the ride. What I loved about the series is that it took a similar format to the classic series. Almost every story in this was a serial, typically lasting 2 parts. I also loved how there was a connection to its parent show, with familiar enemies like Sathine, the Grask, Judoon and Sontaran showing up. David Tennant and Matt Smith even made special guest appearances as their respective doctors. Sarah Jane Adventures was the go-to show for the youngsters, and I firmly believe that the show would have lasted much longer. Sadly, it was cut short due to the untimely passing of its main star. Elizabeth Sladen passed away in the April of 2011. Over a decade on from her death, she is still our Sarah Jane. I will always be thankful that this show exists because it brought so much happiness to many Doctor Who fans. The next spin-off was another one about K9. This debuted in 2010 and was co-created by Bob Baker, who was the writer who created K9 for The Invisible Enemy back in 1977. Now this series is just bizarre. Just from looking at the concept of it alone, K9 Mark I, who travelled with the 4th Doctor and Leela, has undergone a regeneration. And I say that with quotation marks because honestly, what the hell is this? John Leeson came back to voice K9. I mean, who else could have voiced him? The rest of the human cast were all played by Australians because it was produced in Australia. This series was not made by the BBC and it hardly had any sort of affiliation with Doctor Who or any of the other spin-offs. The series went through development hell. Bob Baker always wanted to make a K9 series, even during the wilderness years. It was good that he got his wish. However, the end result was clearly baffling. There were plans for a second series. That's never happened. There were talks of a K9 film where he battles Omega in deep space. Excuse me? Bob Baker sadly passed away in 2021. The K9 official Twitter page posted this announcement. Despite his death, scripts, which were written by him, would get made one day in tribute to him and his legacy. So, I guess, watch this space. We might be getting more K9 in the future. In 2016, while Doctor Who took a break, writer Patrick Ness developed a new spin-off which would centre around the students of Coal Hill School, a location which has appeared throughout Doctor Who history. There, they would take on alien threats. The name of this spin-off, Class. Unfortunately, this series was one which never hit the ground running. It was never renewed for a second series, on TV at least, and it did not gain a huge viewership. My guess is because no one was really interested in this idea at the time. The response by critics was mainly positive, particularly due to the young cast members doing a good job. It was a show which did have potential, but 5 years on, it hardly has the cult following of other shows like Torchwood. Not even Peter Capaldi's guest role in the first episode was enough to garner viewer interest. Since then, the main show, Doctor Who, has continued. No TV spin-offs have been produced since Class. Big Finish has revelled in the idea of audio spin-offs featuring many different characters from the Who universe. That might be a video for another day. With RTD expressing his desire for Doctor Who to be something like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then later being announced to be returning as a showrunner, I do believe that one day we could see some more new spin-offs to our favourite show. Doctor Who is a universe of endless possibilities. It's only right that viewers will eventually see through the eyes of new heroes.